Motorcycling isn't just about the rules you learn in riding school. There's a whole set of unspoken laws that experienced riders live by. These aren't your basic tips or parking lot chatter. They're the deep, often overlooked aspects of riding that can make or break your experience on two wheels. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 12 secret motorcycle rules that every rider should know, but few talk about. Let's start with a rule that could save you from an embarrassing and potentially dangerous situation. Never come to a full stop with your front wheel turned. It sounds simple, but this mistake catches many riders off guard. Picture this: you're pulling into a gas station, slightly turning your handlebars as you coast in. You squeeze the front brake, and suddenly your bike drops. Not from speed, not from a mistake in handling, but because stopping with the front end turn reduces your stability to almost nothing. Here's the physics behind it. When your wheel is turned, the fork tubes aren't vertical. This redirects your braking force sideways. If you're on even a slight slope or uneven surface, the bike's weight shifts off center, and down you go. The heavier the bike, the faster it falls. Even worse, a fully turned wheel gives you no leverage to recover. The solution? Always straighten your bars before coming to a complete stop. It's a small habit that can prevent a big headache. Next up, let's talk about something you might not even realize you're doing wrong: throttle control at low speeds. Most riders think throttle control is all about power delivery, twist for go, roll off to slow down. But here's the secret. At low speeds, the tiniest movements of your throttle are doing way more than you realize. When you're maneuvering in a parking lot, splitting lanes, or doing a U-turn, those micro adjustments on your throttle keep the bike stable. A 2% roll-on can smooth out a turn. A sudden 5% blip can cause a lurch. If you're on a bike with a snatchy throttle or a light flywheel, that tiny blip becomes a full-body jolt. The key is to treat your throttle like a scalpel, not a light switch. Practice finding and holding exact percentages of throttle. Use the rear brake to fine-tune your speed. Master this, and you'll wonder how you ever rode without it. Now, let's address something you might smell rather than see: fuel vapor leaks. You know that gasoline smell in your garage? Most riders think fuel leaks only matter if you see drips on the ground. But here's the rule: a consistent fuel odor, especially when the bike hasn't been ridden recently, means vapor is escaping somewhere it shouldn't. This isn't just annoying, it's potentially dangerous. Fuel vapor is highly flammable. If it collects in an enclosed space, a single spark could ignite it. It's also how many older bikes end up with gradual, invisible fuel system damage. The fix? Track down any persistent fuel odor. Check vent hoses, caps, and clamps. Use your nose like a tool. If you store your bike indoors and it consistently smells like gas, that's a warning sign, not a quirk. Let's move on to a seemingly harmless issue that could lead to a major failure: a bouncing side stand. You've probably heard it, that little metallic clack every time you hit a bump. It might seem insignificant, but a bouncing side stand is slowly chewing through the pivot bolt, the spring tension, and even the frame tab that holds it together. Over time, if the return spring weakens or the pivot bolt loosens, the stand starts to rattle. Every bounce hammers the same contact points, and eventually it fails. Some riders have had their side stand drop mid-ride, hitting the ground and launching the rear tire like a lever. The rule here is simple: if your side stand bounces even a little, fix it. Tighten the bolt, replace the spring, add a washer if there's play. It's a 5-minute job that could save you from a major failure down the line. Now, let's talk about something many riders modify without fully understanding the consequences: adjustable levers. Aftermarket levers look great and let you adjust reach to suit your hands. But there's a hidden danger here. If you set your lever too close to the bar, especially on the front brake, you can reduce how much travel the master cylinder piston has. This means less hydraulic pressure, weaker braking force, and in some cases, a complete inability to brake hard when you need it most. It feels fine under light braking, but try to panic stop, and you might find yourself squeezing as hard as you can with little effect. The rule here is to set your levers for full function, not just comfort. Make sure you can pull the brake with 2 fingers without the lever bottoming out. After adjusting, test your max braking at low speed to ensure it's still fully functional. Here's a rule that might surprise you: hanging too many keys off your ignition can destroy it over time. Those dangling keys bounce, swing, and pull down on the ignition barrel as you ride. Over time, that constant movement and vibration wear out the internal tumblers and electrical contacts. Eventually, your key starts to feel gritty when you turn it. You have to jiggle it just right to get the bike to start, and then one day nothing. The whole ignition fails. The solution is simple: keep your ignition key alone, or, if you must carry something, make it ultralight and short. No swinging tags, no trinkets, no bundles. It's a tiny detail that can save you from a major headache down the road. Let's talk about a sneaky issue that can mimic more serious problems: a clogged fuel cap vent. Imagine this scenario. Your bike starts fine, rides fine, then after 20 minutes, it bogs down. Maybe it stumbles under throttle. You stop, let it sit, and weirdly, it runs fine again. What's going on? Here's the secret. Modern fuel tanks need to breathe. As fuel is used, air needs to enter to prevent a vacuum from forming. If the vent line or cap breather gets blocked, the tank starts to create negative pressure. The result? Fuel flow slows or stops entirely. Your engine starves under load, then magically fixes itself when the bike rests and pressure equalizes. The fix is simple. Next time the issue happens, crack the cap open. If you hear a whoosh of air, that's your diagnosis. Clean the breather, inspect the vent line, and if needed, carefully drill out the tiny breather hole in the cap. It's a simple solution to a problem that can mimic everything from bad injectors to failing fuel pumps. Now let's address something you probably do every time you ride without thinking twice about it: adjusting your mirrors. Most riders set their mirrors to see what's directly behind them. But here's the secret. Your mirrors aren't just for what's behind you. They need to be set for what's coming up beside you. The rule that no one talks about is to adjust your mirrors wider, so wide that your shoulders are barely in the frame. You should overlap your rear view with your peripheral awareness, not duplicate it. This way, the second a car enters your blind zone, it shows up in the mirror before it disappears from your side vision. It feels weird at first, but it drastically reduces the time something spends in your blind spot, keeping you ahead of threats instead of reacting too late. Let's talk about something invisible but crucial: your brake fluid. Most riders know they're supposed to change their brake fluid every couple of years. But unless the brakes feel spongy, many ignore it. Here's the part no one tells you: brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs water from the air through rubber seals and lines, even if the reservoir stays sealed. When moisture gets into your brake fluid, bad things start to happen. The boiling point drops, corrosion begins forming inside your calipers and master cylinder, and worst of all, you won't feel it until your brakes fade when you need them the most. The rule? Flush your brake fluid every 1 to 2 years, even if you barely ride. It's cheap, fast, and can prevent complete brake failure when you least expect it. Here's a subtle one that can sneak up on you: your clutch free play changes as you ride. Most riders adjust the lever once, feel that perfect bite point, and move on. But as your bike heats up, the clutch cable expands, the plates heat soak, and hydraulic systems shift slightly in pressure. That perfect 2 to 3 mm gap you had when the engine was cold might shrink to zero. Once you lose that free play, you're in danger of riding with a partially engaged clutch, even if it feels normal. This leads to poor performance, slip under load, and accelerated clutch wear. The rule? Don't just set free play once. Check it throughout your ride, especially if you're doing twisties, track days, or city traffic where heat builds up fast. Now, let's talk about a habit that's not just about safety, but also about preventing transmission damage, leaving your bike in gear at a stop. When you pop the bike into neutral at a light, your output shaft is still spinning slightly, especially if the clutch is dragging even a little. Over time, that gentle constant spinning while the bike idles in neutral can round off dogs and wear shift forks. Leaving the bike in first at stops keeps the transmission engaged and stable. No clunk, no chatter, no mid-stop shock loads. Just steady engagement, ready to roll. It's one of those habits that feels small until your gearbox thanks you at 60,000 miles. Finally, let's address a tiny part that plays a huge role in your bike's health: the coolant overflow hose. Most riders never give it a second thought, but this little rubber hose isn't just there to vent extra fluid. It plays a critical role in regulating pressure and preventing your cooling system from turning into a steam-powered volcano. If that hose gets kinked, pinched, melted, or clogged, your bike can't relieve excess pressure. When the system can't vent properly, it builds heat and pressure until it finds a weak spot. Suddenly, your bike's spraying coolant at a stoplight, the temp lights flashing, and you're wondering how things went south so fast. The rule? Inspect your overflow hose every season. Make sure it's clear, soft, properly routed, and not touching hot exhaust parts. A 5-minute check can prevent a full-on cooling failure. These rules might not make you look cool or win arguments online, but they'll keep your bike running longer, keep your body safer, and keep your mind sharper. Take a fresh look at your bike. Think about the parts you've been ignoring, the habits you've developed, and the assumptions you've never questioned. If even one of these rules changes how you ride tomorrow, it was worth it. Remember, the stuff no one talks about is often the most crucial. Ride smart, stay sharp, and keep the rubber side down.